This is Just on Amazon for Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. We had a continuation of this bullish move with a gap up, almost clearing 1747 to open, ran up into 1755, didn't quite make it up to 1765 that I was looking for. But from here, put in 25 minutes of these indecision candles. This one, a little stronger hammer, but still indecisive, just because the open and the close are so close together, at least for 20 minutes of this. This one, still a high wave candle, and then broke down. Broke out of this consolidation, not bullish, but bearish. Came right into 1747 again, had a very small retest on the next candle, and then from there was bearish almost into 1727.80. So this would have been a great setup, getting in bearish here or here, even here, and then riding it down to 1727.80 or about there. It moved in between this line and this line. And then this was a great place to get in bullish, going for a bounce here. It retraced in the 21, pushed past it, did a nice S curve here, and there were some nice small candles here. You could have gotten in bullish, and you could tell something had changed just with the amount of bullish candles here, almost coming back up to the same pivot and really making an inverted head and shoulders that really broke out. Didn't do much retesting until here, where people were loading up bullish, and it didn't continue. It moved 3 candles and then rolled back down. So overall, aside from the open, the rest of the day was really choppy. Really, except for the first hour of the day, it was really choppy. The first hour was very directional, choppy for 25 minutes, and then a breakdown, and then choppy from a bigger perspective. But there were some nice directional trades to be taken in here. So if we just zoom in on the day, you would have had to have something set up at the open to get in on this bullish move, and then gotten out right here or trailed up your stop. And I'm sure a lot of bulls were looking for this to continue. That's what bought this candle up. I was looking for a place to buy here as well. And once it put in, a couple of these, 2, 3 of these indecisive candles, then did this one, it's like, it really should go bullish from here, but it's not really looking like it after this candle broke down. I was surprised to see it recover, come back up and make a high wave candle here, and then ultimately broke down. But this was a great place to go go bearish as well, bullish or bearish. You could have really had it set up either way. This is what was happening on the 1750 calls. You're in the money by quite a bit here. Again, you would have had to have something set up already to get in at the open. And then that pullback into 1727.50, I'm sorry, 1727.80 was way down here around $7. And if you didn't get in at that low, that's fine. It would have been hard to be calling that low because it didn't actually hit the line. On the S curve here, it really stayed nicely range bound, 9x8, and that would have been a great place to get in bullish. On the breakout, 9x8, it didn't even come back down to the low, went sideways for 15 minutes here, and then ran up, and it made it right back up to this pivot. This was the 925 price, so that was right here. We made it up past that level, and actually in the option made it up past that level, which is a bit surprising, that we actually made a higher high than this one. And it probably is just because we were so indecisive in here that we weren't in the money. But I mean, just being closer to at the money by $1, I mean, shouldn't have made it go in the what was I gonna say? Shouldn't have made this high higher than this high. And I know it was small, but it's just the option doesn't normally do that. Normally you'd see a high probably around 12 or even 1150. If this one made a high, at 1275, maybe this one would be 1175. That's what I would have expected. And so, if you're in at 9 with a stop at 8, getting out 11, even 12 is great, but to have a high here right at 13, it's a little surprising to see. And then again here, this was a great place to get in bearish. It just didn't get close enough here. It had a really nice inverted hammer. And I saw that and I was like, oh, I should get in bearish here. And I hit send on the order and it almost filled here. I'll show you what I almost did. It was not this option, it was the 1700. And let's see, it was, I put in an order for 3 to get it at $3. And so let's see, I think it must not have been that candle then, because that's 150. It must have been the 155 candle. Oops, wrong. There you go. So it wasn't this. So it did this. Okay, inverted hammer, then this candle, and then I sent the order, and it didn't. It didn't get there. I was looking for a little bit more of a kind of a triangle here, and the high just didn't get high enough to fill me on that next candle at $3. So I didn't get filled, and once it didn't fill, I'm like, it's going without me. What I should have done is, even though it went without me, it did have this inverted hammer, and that would have been in the range of this one. This was a great place to kind of take this as a double top, calling a top here. At least having, if not $3, moved it up a little bit more, like 325 or even 350, and just scalp it. So I could have gotten in here 350, gotten out at like 4, just made a little something. But again, I wasn't going to make 2 R's on this anyway. I was just going to look to get from 3 to 4. And but if I had, let me say it again, if I had risked from 3 to 2, that's what I would have only been scalping an R up to 4. But getting in at 3 and calling this the pivot, I could have really set a stop at 250, possibly 275. If I'd done 250, and that's really what I was looking to do, 3 by 250. I could have gotten into 2 to make that $100 risk and gotten out at 4, and that would have been 2R. And 4 was a nice target also because it was somewhat of your neckline, the horizontal neckline, or it didn't really work as an angled neckline. But anyway, 4 was a nice target just because it was 2R and it came into a pivot here. And if I had sent the order earlier, it would have filled and would have gone. And I was looking for it to touch 1747, which it didn't do. So I was kind of adjusting what my entry was going to be based on what the candles were doing. And yeah, it just didn't work. So I liked how this was trapping more of the bulls right here, because we did get a move above this bearish candle, and we did move above this pivot. And so all the bulls, let me sketch it. All the bulls that were right in here and right in here, and I kind of drew over it, right in here. All right, not quite that many. All the bulls right there, those are the ones getting trapped. And it was just close enough to the pivot that it's like, even if it doesn't hit, it should roll over here, because it did that earlier and it didn't get that close either. So anyway, back to this. This is where you could have been looking for a move like 250 by 150, breaking bearish from that consolidation and getting into puts here. You also have the opportunity to get in on this pullback into the open price, right at like 325, get a stop down at 225, something like that. The 1700 put is a little bit further away, but it had a little better volume, I think, than, let's see, the 1725. They're going to pay up a little more for the 1725. Yeah, a little lower volume overall. But your range was still, still doable. So you may not have been able to do 6 by 5 because we actually got a move slightly below that. You could have still gotten an entry right at the open price. So maybe doing 8 by 7 up here. You would have been below this candle, which is good also. And getting it at 8 and then letting that ride up to back up to this pivot, at least 1050. And then for it to continue, you really could have had it open up to like 13. as it ran down to the 1727.80 price, just didn't get there. So probably would have had like 14. I mean, you're just about at the money, so you're going to get much better movement in price the closer you get to at the money and then in the money. But you had a couple opportunities to be buying here. So if you got it at 8, you could have just flipped it out at 10 or 11 or 12 or 13. Any of those would have worked. You could have gotten in again here, 10 by 9. It was like that setup. So getting in here, 10 by 9, flip that out at 12, 12.50, 13, that worked as well. So these were the pivots, and I haven't zoomed out. Let me see if I can go back to, oh man, I haven't been this so long. I think it's this way, restore cell. There we go. Okay, looking at the pivots, here's where you could have gone bearish right in here. That would have been buying puts here, or getting in bearish here. And again, it didn't quite touch the 21. So, it has a little more bearishness when it's not even touching there. That would have been getting in with puts here. Comes down, almost touches 1727. That's where you want to be flipping. And that would have been buying calls down in here, around $7-8, something like that. Now, if you didn't get in down there, you had an opportunity after this S curve to get in over here, and this is where we put in the price 9 by 8, or the set, got into the $8 to $9 range, getting in 9 by 8 through these three 5-minute candles. So right in here to here to here, right in here, it's showing it's breaking out. This is resting. This is a nice little resting flag. You could have really set this up to get in 9 by 8 and just ride that up, and that would have been a nice move up to around 12 or so, or back up to this level that I was just talking about, close to that level. If you did that in the 1725, no, wait, not 1725, that's the wrong way. What if we did 1775? That's what I was looking at. Okay, I have no idea where I am on here. Let's see. Okay, there's today. That would have been, right in here. I was looking for it to come back to 250, and it didn't touch 250 here. And then that moved up to 4. So I missed some trades, looking for a specific price. I like trading with some of these options that are out of the money, like calls, 1775 and the 1700 put. I like doing those at quarter increments. So at 250 or 225 or 2. Ideally, I like sticking with whole numbers or 50. So at 2, 253, something like that. So if I can get the setup, it's just nice round numbers, easy to do the math on. I can get in 250 by 150, or I could even do 250 by 2, get 2 of them and have $100 risk and just ride that move. So even this move here, even with the 1775 call, the high at this pivot was 423. The high over here, let's see, 412. Okay, that's more like it, that we got up, but not quite as high as this high, 423. So that makes a little more sense. Maybe it's because it's a Tuesday, it's beginning of the month. I'm not sure. But we'll look to see the options move a little more normal tomorrow, I guess, maybe. Let me see if I can maximize that here. All right, back to the daily. Didn't quite get up to 1765. We did fade from getting up into these levels here. We had a bullish retest gap that ultimately faded on the day, but gave us some nice bullish and bearish directional trades. We still have increasing bearish momentum. This really could have been a retest of the 1747 price. It got back below it within, was that 35 minutes? Yeah, 9 o'clock, it was getting back below it and didn't get back above it. So for 35 minutes, we were above, or maybe 34 minutes, we were above 1747 and just couldn't stay above it. This trapped a lot of bulls right here. Getting above this level, everyone thinks this is breaking out. Whatever pattern this is, it's breaking out. it's going to run up to this pivot, or get back to that 50% mark, or even like I said, get up to 1765. And it didn't do that. It stopped really dead in its tracks right here and rolled back down. So this is still a bit of a flag. We could still continue up a little bit more if we do some sort of like a shoulder, head, shoulder, something, or a shoulder, head, shoulder. Maybe we pull back a little more. I'm not sure. So I'm not seeing a triangle yet. Oops, a little bit more. I mean, we got above where I drew the one this way. We're above that. Let's see. Let me draw that back in. So if I connect, what was it over here? Like this? No, there's something else. Is it up here? Come on. I go like this. Yeah, so that hits some pivots. So that almost touches the low here today, but not exactly. I'll go there. Don't line up exactly, but I don't know. I'm not seeing a clean line yet. So I think it's easier, or not easier, but it's a better thing to focus on the pivots. The lines we got in here: 1747, 1727.80, and then the next one down here at 1714.50. See if we can continue lower and get into that. We did have increasing bearish, increasing volume in a bearish candle from yesterday's hammer. And so that was the only lackluster thing about yesterday's candle, is that it was a great hammer. It just was really lacking in volume, especially after all this bearish move. We got to have more volume to pick this back up bullish. So if we continue down tomorrow and any more this week, look to get below 1714.50, get a close below there. And I think that really opens the door to getting down to 1665.27 this week or next. I think that's where we're headed if we continue down and get that close there. If we hover around in here, look for some more bullish candles to come in, partially to give some more confidence that it's going to move up. But if we get a bullish candle, we get a gap up above some of these bearish candles, that could really trap a lot of the bears thinking it's going to roll back down. Just look out for the 21 coming down in here. That could act as a nice resistance. But we really need to start moving bullish very soon if we're going to do it, because we're still forming a lot more bearish candles in here than we are bullish candles. We really haven't had a good bullish move since way back over here, and that was somewhat of an exhaustion move to push up almost to a new all-time high and didn't get there. Even as we were going through this, we had a lot more bullishness coming in. We had some bullish candles in a row. We're seeing a lot of the opposite of that right now. We're only seeing kind of sporadic bullish candles, a couple here in a row that didn't go anywhere. And there's been a lot more directional bearish candles that are pushing us lower. So it feels opposite of this. And it feels like we're just going to continue bearish just with how things are moving. And again, if you need to kind of flip your bias, if you're used to looking at bullishness and seeing that easily, if you flip this chart inverted, negative AMZN, this looks like it's about to break out, which means going towards more negative numbers, smaller negative numbers, something like that, towards a negative 1600. It looks like this is about to break out. It's got a nice pivot here that'll be resistance. But from there, I mean, this really looks like it's forming some sort of inverted head and shoulders, and this is the shoulder. We're starting to break out. That's what this looks like here. Maybe back until we get into some sort of a trend, something like now I don't mean to discount that, but I'm just drawing a line that hits some of the pivots. If we could get back into the 1400 to 1500 range over the next few months and the end of the year, maybe a great place to pick up the that trend line again and then bounce. and by bounce I mean go back to being bullish. So I flip this over. So there's some potential there. If I draw that here, that would be sketching like something like this. Got way more lines in here, so it's not quite gonna match up, but something like that. Or yeah, I'd have to spend some more time going back because there's probably some other lines. Yeah, there's some other pivots that are a little lower. So that was pretty flat through there. So if we grab like this low and go to that low, or maybe yeah, connect more of these lows, something a little bit more like that. Connecting lows, we got through it there. Some lows here, kind of like that. So if we now extend this to the right just to see where that is, does that match up with what I just drew on the negative side? Yeah, and at the end of the year, if we get into the 1400 range, that looks like a nice place to pivot. But that's a long way down from here. At least it feels that way. We need a lot more directional. I mean, look at where we're at. We're not that far off from all-time highs, but we definitely pulled back. This is an S curve away from all-time highs, and we have some more supports to break through if we're going to get that far down. Next one being on the 17th, 1450, then getting past this pivot, 1665, 27, and then getting down here into these lows, like let's see, what's one of the next ones in here? We're going to hover on just one of them. There, 1578.25. I don't remember the last time I thought about that number. So anyway, take that out. And we'll be back soon with another review to see how things are going the next day. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it's helpful. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.